The next thing that we're going to discuss is the Nullification Crisis, which also happens in 1832. Now, it's interesting that both these things happen in the same time. We kind of get into a large showdown between Andrew Jackson and some other important people, and then we're going to see some new historical actors who are going to start really showing promise as people who we're going to be talking about now almost till the end of the school year, till we get up to the Civil War. Um, so the Nullification Crisis happens in 1832. And I have a couple bubbles here. We haven't really gotten into it yet, but you can see there's obviously some conflict. Andrew Jackson, remembers, a man who is used to getting what he wants. And there's another big, strong personality in John C. Calhoun over here on the right, who is going to threaten to he's asking for them to repeal the tariff. Remember, a tariff is a tax on imported goods, which is hurting the Southerners. And he's threatening that we will leave and destroy the entire country. And Jackson's saying, "You try to do that, I will hang you all. I'll kill you." So that's the basic. But let's get into it before we get into all of the super conflict. What is the problem? You have an increase in tariffs, taxes on imports. They're trying to make up some money here. They increase the stuff. So this is hurting Southern trade with Great Britain. Um, South Carolina, in a bold, really bold move, South Carolina nullifies or cancels the tariff law. And they claim that states had the ultimate power to decide if a law is constitutional. And John C. Calhoun is the guy who writes the Nullification Act. So I have a thought bubble here. So this tariff is destroying our state while the bankers in the North get richer. I know I'll just say that if the state disagrees with federal law, we can just nullify or cancel the laws we disagree with. Gotcha, Jackson. You're not a real Southerner anyway. So remember, John C. Calhoun really believes himself to be a Southern man, and Jackson's kind of further west. So Jackson, though, still he's a Southerner, but he's not the same kind of Southerner as Calhoun. So there's a little bit of animosity there. But the whole idea here is that this tax is hurting John C. Calhoun and South Carolina. But so they come up with this law they write that says, yeah, we can just whatever the government decides, the federal government, who cares? I mean, this has already been put to rest. We already talked about McCulloch versus Maryland, but Calhoun's trying anyway. So how is this resolved? This is not Andrew Jackson's probably finest moment. But remember, he's used to getting what he wants, and he is the dominant guy. What he says goes. So Jackson demands South Carolina enforce the tariff. Of course, John C. Calhoun, another strong personality, says, "No, I'm not doing that. And if you try to make me, I am going to leave. We're going to leave the Union, leave the whole thing. We're going to leave the country. I'll go create South Carolinaville, South Carolina, the nation." And Calhoun is the guy who responds directly to Jackson. Jackson, remember, he's used to getting what he wants, used to commanding, threatens military force. He says, "I'm going to send the army down to you, and I'm going to get you. And if you don't do as I say, I will hang you all as traitors. Okay, you want to try to secede? Go ahead. You do it, you'll die." And we all know Jackson. We've already done some research on him in the Dossier Project. He is not going to allow them to leave. Um, Now, out of all of this, probably the only voice of reason is Henry Clay. Remember, I had said he was going to come back. He was important. I kept getting home earlier that he is very important. He is. Henry Clay says, "Whoa, Calhoun, why do you have to leave the Union? We don't need to go that far. We don't need to destroy the country. Jackson, you don't need to go start killing people. Let's not go that far either." So, South Carolina agrees to a compromise that Henry Clay puts together and actually remains in the Union. And this is going to become one of Henry Clay's defining moments, and Henry Clay is going to do this over and over again to help the country. So, why is this important? What is the whole issue here? Um, it's this big issue of states' rights or the union. Which is more important? A state's right to decide whatever it wants, right? Or the union of the country as a whole, with the national government having the final say, the federal government having the final say. Jackson, the Southerner, believes the union is more important. He believes being president is more important. The federal government should have the final say. And really, this whole thing is a preview of the Civil War. This is where we're starting to get the meltdown is beginning. The, you know, southern states are starting to become at odds with northern states. They're not liking decisions the national government is making. They're starting to say, you know what, we have the right to decide. Let's go back towards the direction of let's go back to the direction of, the Articles of Confederation, where states have more power. And remember, the states are supposed to be equal in power to the federal government. So Calhoun's just saying, well, in that sense, then yeah, we are supposed to be able to kind of figure out what this really means for everybody. So this is going to be important later. This whole idea of who's stronger than who should have the final say, and it's going to take a war to really kind of decide what is actually happening. It's really going to decide. So this should be the end of your sheet, and you can continue on doing any kind of other research for your project.